I have my special guest, a passionate and inspiring public speaker, consultant, writer, artist, independent scholar, and visionary educator. None than Mr. Patrick Williams.
Hello,
Welcome,
Daniel.
welcome, Mr. Patrick. And Mr. Patrick is also the founder and president of Satori Innovation. So, Mr. Patrick, can you please introduce more about yourself than I missed?
I'll be happy to. Thanks for having me on, Daniel. I have been an artist my entire life, and I have done a lot of teaching, both in public schools and private schools. And also, I've done a lot of martial arts teaching. And during that time, I studied how children learn and also how children have difficulties learning. And a few years ago, I was having some conversations with some business folks, friends of mine, and I realized that they were having some difficulty with learning about creativity. And so I put those two things together, and that's how I started Satori Innovation, helping people get themselves unstuck with regards to their creativity. Entrepreneurs are very creative people, but sometimes they get stuck with how to come up with innovation and new ideas. So I decided to put my expertise together and help people out with that.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Patrick. Thank you. And today, let's talk about being the founder and president of Satori Innovation. So, tell us, you've been open about growing up in Omaha with the father battling alcoholism alcoholism and chaotic home life. Finding refuge in art and nature as a child, how do that early experience using creativity as an escape from chaos shape your fundamental understanding of what art is for, both for yourself and later for the clients you serve through Satori Innovation?
Yes, great question. I think the main factor of my awareness of creativity came from nature. So I spent a lot of time when I was young out in what we call the woods, which was a large area. It was maybe a little over 100 acres probably. So I think that's maybe maybe 50 hectares. Uh, so it was a big area of just raw woods, and I loved being out in the woods, climbing trees, playing solo, or sometimes playing with myself. But I think it's really the place where I had time to study what my environment, to look at the world on my own, and that was a super important factor with regards to me understanding myself as a creative person. And then, as I say in my TEDx talk, a tragedy happened to those woods, and that really literally sparked another level of creativity in myself. And I started teaching myself how to draw and then eventually how to paint. And those two self actualizing steps, and especially for a shy farm boy growing up in a very small house, they were very influential on how I would later approach people in rediscovering their creativity. Because I thought, well, if a young farm kid can do it, then pretty much anybody can do it.
Definitely. So, Mr. Patrick, You've mentioned a pivotal moment in sixth grade when teachers' guidance shifted your academic trajectory and revealed the power of persistence and creativity. Who was the teacher and what exactly did they say or do that unlocked something in you that stayed present across the decades of creative practice?
Yes. Her name was Miss Kraus, and she had only been teaching. I found out this later. She had only been teaching for a couple years. And when we started sixth grade, there were after school programs, and one of them was called Challenge. And a bunch of my friends, like three or four of my friends, were in this after school program, and I wanted to be in the program. And after about a week, I built up my confidence. And during lunch hour, I walked up to Miss Krause and I asked her if I could be in challenge class after school. And she said, "Well, probably not because you're those are just for the kids who do really well in school." And I said, "Okay, I really want to be in class in that after school class." And she said, "Well, you have to have really, really good grades." And I said, "Okay, I really want to be in that class." And by that time, she knew that I wasn't going to give up. And she said, "Well, you'd have to study really hard." And I said, "Okay, how do I do that?" And she told me what I had to do. And at that time, I was in the lowest reading group and the lowest math group in all the classes. I think there were four or five sixth grade classes in our junior high school. So I buckled down and I figured out how to study, and I got excellent grades. Like I went from maybe getting 60% on tests to 100% on tests. So in a way, I think I surprised everybody, even myself. But in a way, it showed me that I had the ability to be in that class because I literally did the homework, and that sort of opened up a whole new world for me with respect to reading and writing and exploring more of what school could offer. Because before that, all I was interested in was hanging out with my friends and making little drawings when I was in school. I really wasn't too aware of the importance of academics before then, but that really opened my eyes, so to speak. And it was amazing for her to actually tell me what I should do, and then I ended up doing it. It was it was years later, probably almost 30 years later, that I found out where she lived, and I called her up and I thanked her for doing that for me. And we had a great conversation. We cried, and we just had a really, really good connection after all those years. So that was kind of a special closure to that story that she helped me with.
Indeed. Amazing story, Mr. Patrick, and thank you for sharing to us.
Yeah.
Before becoming an artist and consultant, you earned black belts in karate and aikido and spent decades training and teaching Budo. The RTC Recovery podcast notes that Zen teachings and martial arts philosophy reshape your worldview. What specific moment in the dojo, perhaps inspiring or meditation, where you realize that the principles of martial art discipline could directly translate to creative practice?
Oh, that that's a super great question. And thinking of one a specific moment, wow, that's challenging. I have one. All right. So when when I took my first black belt test, it was in 1984, and I had been training super hard. About 8 months before that, my teacher Schmidt Sensei said, get ready for your black belt test, and all you say is height, and you start training even harder. I was training hard before that, and I started training even more. The night of the test, I had a fever of like 101 or 102. I was a mess, but I, I I had to take the test. So I told my teacher that he's the only one that knew in the dojo that I was actually sick, that I had a fever. And during the test, everything was going pretty well. And during the test, during one of the kata, I paused. And it to anybody else, no one, none of the people just watching who had come to just watch the test, none of them would have noticed that. Even a bunch of the younger, the the colored belts, like the blue belts and the yellow belts and the purple belts and the brown belts, they wouldn't probably have noticed. But everybody on the table, the judges, they knew that I had paused a little bit too long at one spot in this kata. And I thought, in that instant, I thought, okay, I failed the test. So after the test, when I was told that I passed, I was sort of surprised because of that one moment. And I walked up to, later on in the evening, I walked up to our chief instructor, Der Sensei, and he said, "Oh, you did such a great job." And I said, "I thought I failed because of that one spot in the kata that I paused too long. It was so obvious that was I stopped moving inside the kata." And he said, "Oh no, I love that part. It showed you, it showed me how composed you were and how ready you were for anything." And I thought, well, amazing. I thanked him, but that really made an impression on me with regards to people in business, entrepreneurs for sure, but other business folks and other people in general. And it also helped me as a teacher later when I was teaching karate and aikido, that a mistake isn't necessarily a mistake. A mistake is just a moment when we have an opportunity to move forward. And that's what Mr. Durst taught me that evening in 1984, November 15th. And and I've always remembered that. And it's been super important how I approach people with regards to hesitation or with regards to thinking that they have failed or thinking that they've made a mistake. I always say, just take a moment, reflect on what you're doing, and consider that it might be you're having the opportunity to reflect and reconsider and look at the situation in a new way, and then you can move forward. So that's one of probably many moments through my many years in the dojo that has stuck with me and helped me with Satori Innovation.
Very well said, Mr. Patrick. You're speaking about mentors and professors who recognize your unique spark and fueled your confidence as an artist. Looking back, what was the common thread among those who truly saw you? Was it their
Mm.
willingness to challenge you, or unconditional support, or something else entirely?
Yeah, I think it was uh, both of those two things for sure. That they all saw something in me, and but they also saw that I was when I was young. So Miss Krause for one, that was sixth grade, and then in high school, my physics teacher, Bruce Esser, he saw this also, and my painting professor and my karate teacher, uh, Schmidt Sensei, and my painting teacher, who's no longer alive, Richard Tricky. So they saw not only that I was passionate and focused and talented, but they also saw that my upbringing was causing me to falter a little bit. My the 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 issues that I dealt with while growing up were, especially when I was in sixth grade and also in high school, but also in college, they were still a weight on my shoulders that I had to work diligently to remove. And I think that they saw that in their wisdom, and they knew that I needed just a little bit extra support and extra effort. So I really appreciate that. And also because of that, I have been able to see and be perceptive to those qualities in some of my students in art and Budo, but also in dealing with people who are coming to Satori Innovation that may have some things in their past that they just need a little bit more care and thoughtfulness with regards to assisting them re- restoring their inner creativity.
Well done, Mr. Patrick. Your educational background includes deep independent scholarship, but you are not defined by traditional academic credentials. How do you chart your own path as a visionary educator and independent scholar? And what advice do you have for creative who feel constrained by formal institutional expectations?
Mm, beautiful question, Daniel, uh, and dear to my heart. It and partly because not so much when I have a BFA in painting from the University of Nebraska, but that was in 1981, and the emphasis on artists having a academic background was not quite like it is now. After 10 or 15 years, almost everybody who was in the art world was feeling the pressure that they needed to have an MFA minimum. And so we see that happening in the art world, both in galleries and in museums and collectors, et cetera. So for me, I knew what was important was to make the work and focus on my craft, which takes many years to perfect. But also, I even knew this when I was still in university, that I had to work extra hard, spend a lot of time in the library and checking books out on artists and on art history. So I had, because of Miss Krause, her help, I had an extra energy to push myself in academics solo. So I had decent classes at the university, but but it wasn't the type of university that I could get a high level education from. I got a decent education from the university, but I had to push myself into an area that would translate as possibly a more educated person than I would have been if I just coasted along. So I put a lot of emphasis on reading and contemplation and studying. So people out there who are artists and want to go further and deeper, but also entrepreneurs. And both of these are issues in some ways, especially with entrepreneurs. I'm sure you're familiar with this. They have they don't have a lot of time in their schedule. And when I say you should really focus on reading as much as you can about everything possible, no matter what interests you. Sure, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to read books on entrepreneurship and on business, but that doesn't do it. That's not enough. you have to go to the library and just walk up and down the stacks, stop, look up, and pick a book. And something in that book is going to assist you in how you think, how you look at the world. And this is so important for people who want to go further. Let's use entrepreneurs as an example. That reading is going to give these people ideas and concepts that seem unrelated to whatever their entrepreneurship is about, but it's going to help. And it's somewhat challenging to convince people of that, but it is an intangible value to someone's business when they are increasing their inner knowledge base, that it feeds their wisdom that they're slowly building through their life to read as much as possible and to read on a wide ranging set of subject matters. So when I want people to deepen their ability to think well, to consider how to solve issues that are in their world, in their home life, in their entrepreneurial life, in their business life, in their art life, whatever it might be, I assist people to pick up books, and that's going to help you. But also, journaling will help too.
Journaling indeed, and beautifully articulated. Mr. Patrick, you have exhibited art across the US, Japan, and China, with the gallery representation in Chicago, Seattle, and Omaha. What did you learn about the cultural difference in how art is received, valued, and understood when you work traveled from America, Midwest, Japan, and China?
Hmm. Yes, those Daniel, you have superb questions. I just love your thoroughness and your perception. It's fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, yeah, I learned a tremendous amount about myself and and the and the various levels of the art world, having all those experiences, and I'm still learning about myself in the art world with respect to being in new and very different situations, whether it's a city or a country. Art is an absolutely remarkable part of who we are as human beings, and I think it's universal, and it's translatable into every culture, every language, every age group across the planet. And my my experiences of being in all those situations has been a tremendous gift to me for the attention and the joy that I see people experience when they're looking and experiencing my art, and vice versa. It is a joy for me to be able to express and to offer these items, these paintings and drawings and such to people. It I think it's part of our education and our appreciation that is so important for us at any point in history, but especially now to share the things like art that are so special. Art and food, those two things are remarkable to share in cross culture, in cross cultural ways. So I think for me, throughout my life, being able to have these experiences has really given me a whole new level of appreciation of how interesting and interested people are all over the world to connect with art and also to ask questions about the art whenever I have that opportunity. It's always it's both educational for me and I think for others.
Mr. Patrick, to wrap up our discussion for today, you've been described as a planetary ambassador for creativity on
Yes.
Positive Talk Radio. That's a wonderful, expansive title. If you were accept the ambassadorship literally, what would be your first official act or message to the planet about state of human creativity today?
We all have it inside of us. We had it when we were children, and we have it now. Some of us, we have access to it very quickly, and others need a little bit more help, and I'm here to help.
Definitely. Mr. Patrick is here to help you people, so let's connect with him. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your projects or anything you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101, Mr. Patrick?
Sure, I have a new Substack. I 35 entries, and it's called How to Make a Painting. But it's more than how to make a painting. It's sort of like our discussion, our conversation today. There are all these little bit of tidbits that go into making a painting, and I'm expressing it on Substack at How to Make a Painting.
So, I have one more question, Mr. Patrick. If you build a life that integrates art, martial arts, consulting, speaking, teaching, and deep partnership, looking ahead, what is the creative frontier that still excites you, scares you, or feel unfinished, that what you need to earn to let it go through there?
Wow, that's a big contemplative question, Daniel. It's superb. I think going deeper is my quest, is to find a more powerful way to express myself and to share both my art and my words and my thinking with as many people as possible.
Well said, Mr. Patrick, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Monica
Daniel.
Yes, Monica people, see you soon.